Rob on the mic, spitting truth from the heights. Queens unite under stadium lights. Bright nights, 7 train rides. Dreams born in the real hum. Brooklyn to Queens, yeah, we all about that outcome. This our time, this our cheer. Mets talk loud, bring the hype, make it clear. From the boroughs to the field, this our year. Queens in the house, let the world hear. From Flushing Meadows, echoes bounce off the bat. Rob calls, take the mic, snaps like a thunderclap. Home runs over bridges, no gaps in the story. Mets rise, reclaiming the glory. 7 the city, blue and orange army swarm. Summer vibe electric, love in every form. From Biggie's blocks to Flushing's heartbeat. Our anthem loud, no retreat. This our time, this our cheer. Mets talk loud, bring the hype, make it clear. From the boroughs to the field, this our year. Queens in the house, let the world hear. The apple pops in the outfield, city of dreams. Rob's voice over static, Mets on every stream. White lines mapped out the future, vividly. From shade to city, the journey's never gimmicky.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome to the Mets Trade Watch live right here on the channel and on X. Got me some coffee, got me some donuts. I'm all ready for a little bit of midnight snack, midnight coffee, and hopefully a midnight trade for our New York Mets. Welcome to the channel, guys. Hit on that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for dealing with me for the last 15 minutes as I try to get ready, get me some coffee. As you guys held it down in the chat, I do appreciate that, guys. So welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, you guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you don't, you got sick of me and my face today. There's 4 more days left of the trade deadline, so welcome to the channel. It's been a fun weekend as the Mets won 7 in a row, swept the last 2 series against the Angels and the San Francisco Giants as they start their West Coast trip perfect before they head to San Diego to face the Padres, obviously in San Diego. So what do we have to talk about? How about this? The first acquisition of the trade deadline for David Stearns, Gregory Soto, was dominant in his first inning as a New York Met wearing number 65. The extra lefty that I think a lot of us have been asking for when it comes to our bullpen. But there's a lot of work, to do here for the New York Mets. I think tonight, in game 3 of the series, Ronnie Mauricio, as my cat throws the door open. What a rude cat, I tell you. Sorry, guys. My cat Shay is I had the door closed and he knows how to open it, so he's in now. Sorry about that. I just heard a creaking of the door. I'm like, what's going on? Of course, he's in. All right, so Shay wants to join the party. So, I think Ronnie Mauricio has established himself today. I think today was a turning point, a stepping stone, and a possible sigh of relief from our president of the baseball ops, David Stearns, as my cat is just trying to eat my donut. What are you doing? I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. Shay wants to join the party. Go lay down. He listens, by the way, on his Mets blanket. Okay, he's laying down. All right, I'm so sorry, guys. So I think the stepping stone, and I think with David Stearns, I truly think that this game kind of put him at ease a little bit. Because I really do think, and I'm by any means, I don't think that this is a easy decision for David Stearns, right? You got guys trying to establish themselves. We know what Mark Vientos did last year. You got Brett Beatty, who's on the fringe of basically being DFA'd with no more options if he didn't play well. And then you see Ronnie Mauricio come back from his rehab, from his injury. As soon as the opportunity arose, David Stearns brought up Ronnie Mauricio. So there was favoritism there. They had all eyes on Ronnie Mauricio. And now he's starting to get in the groove a little bit. You could see the talent spill out. Today, his best performance as a big leaguer. 4 for 4, a home run, hitting the ball into opposite field, center field, a bomb over the wall into McCovey Cole. There's a lot of things that we are seeing from Ronnie Mauricio that everybody thought he could be. He's showing his defense. He's showing his versatility, shows his speed, shows his power. I mean, 5-tool potential is what Ronnie Mauricio is. And that is something that you don't give up, right? You want to talk about a PCA for Javi Baez? There's probably a good possibility that I think the Mets kind of have that notion when it comes to Ronnie Mauricio. Now, is Ronnie Mauricio going to be just as good as PCA or better? Obviously, it's yet to be determined. It's not fair to decide either way. It's not, we can voice our opinions all we want when it comes to Ronnie Mauricio. But the fact of the matter is you saw every aspect of that 5-tool today, guys. And I do think David Stearns was mulling over it. That's why I really wanted to do a Mets trade watch tonight for at least an hour and a half up until close to 1 o'clock. Because I feel like trades haven't happened for the Mets over the last 24 hours after the Gregory Soto trade because of the fact I think Stearns is mulling over. He's getting a ton of calls for Mauricio, Acuna, Beatty, and Vientos. Like, they are clearly talked about in probably every trade that he's discussing. I think it makes it a so much easier when guys finally establish themselves, where it makes it easier. You're not trading Ronnie Mauricio right now, if at all. Brett Beatty has established to be a solid player. You're not trading that type of guy. He's more impactful. He's more important to your team, on your team, than being an asset in a trade. Where Vientos and Acuna, you can easily see them being a part of trades because they have lost the ability to remain on this team by production, just for circumstance, by happenstance. It's just what it is. It's nobody's fault. It's just how the cookie crumbles. It's just how baseball just works out. Somebody takes your job if you don't perform. Mark Vientos got Wally Pipp. And if you don't know what that is, please Google. Right? Mark Vientos got Wally Pipp. Just like Vientos last year, Wally Pipp, Brett Beatty. Even though the difference is it was injury when it came to, Wally Pipp getting injured. And I think everybody should know the story from that. Obviously, it's Yankees related, but, I've known that story since I was a young buck. When I was in high school playing baseball, my baseball coach, my varsity baseball coach was a diehard Yankee fan. And he brought up Wally Pipp all the time. And because he always says, he goes, you never have a full grasp on the job. There is always somebody trying to take your job. And he cemented that in my head and every one of my teammates' head. And that's the mentality you got to have if you're a fan of a team. You can't just be, a fan of a team and appreciate and just, have a favor towards certain guys because of last year or the bad start this year. You got it. Exactly, Daron, Lou Gehrig. The fact is, at some point, somebody's got to establish themselves. Somebody's got to get Wally Pipp. Now, obviously, it was an injury that happened with Wally Pipp, but it's more about the overall aspect of doing your job and holding on to your job. Your job is never 100% yours. Unless you're Francisco Lindor, unless you're Pete Alonso, Aaron Judge, the best players in the game, right? Other than that, your job is one step away from losing it because there's always somebody trying to take your job, right? Brett Beatty was hearing whispers about Mark Vientos last year. He lost his job. He got Wally pipped, minus the injury. Vientos this year got Wally pipped, minus the injury. Like that is the point of when you have a logjam in a certain area of your team. It's rare, by the way, guys, that a team that is as good as the Mets are right now, 18 games over 500, leading the division by a game and a half, as the Phillies lost today and the Yankees actually finally helped us. You really don't have a lot of the times where a team like the Mets has major league talent available in trade talks that teams want. Usually the buyers are usually giving up prospects. Like, this is a unique situation where you can trade Vientos and Acuna and really not dig deep into your farm system to make the trades you need and deem necessary to help your team. Like, that's huge, guys. That is the huge news. And if you didn't understand that, now you do. This is so unique that you have teams like the Astros, as Buster Olney broke on ESPN today during a game, that the Astros have called up the Mets about their infield depth. Now, as soon as he said that, what did most people do? Look at the roster of the Houston Astros. Because you're thinking, like, all right, they're clearly a playoff team. They're going to win their division. They're looking for an infielder to fill a spot. I think it was who's the guy? I forgot his name. Damn it. Paredes. Because he's hurt. So they're trying to fill that void. And then I'm looking at the roster. I don't really like the two good bullpen arms they have. I don't think they're going to get rid of them unless they sign other guys to trade. I don't see that makes any sense. I don't think they're trading Framber Valdez. I mean, that would be the guy you would want. But why would they trade their ace, or at least their co-ace with Hunter Brown, to get a Vientos? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, maybe they're not acting for Vientos. Maybe they are acting for Mauricio or Beatty. And San, exactly. You build up your farm, guys, not only because to develop them into major league talent for your organization, for your team. You build your farm system for what the Mets are currently in right now. When you're a championship caliber team, when you're a win now team, because you probably got about a 2 or 3 year, I would say, let's be safe here, 2-year grace period with your current core of Alonso. I think Alonso's going to be a Met long term, but I'm putting him in the mix. Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo. Again, they're at 30 or above 30 right now. How many more prime years you got from these guys? You might have 3 more years, prime great years from Alonso. Maybe 2 or 3 for Nimmo. Maybe 2 or 3 from Lindor when they hit that middle 30 age mark where a drop can happen at any moment. You got to win with these guys. So David Stearns is in a very unique situation here where the farm system has got built up over the last couple of seasons. The drafting has gotten better. And now you have the opportunity to use some of those assets to not only get proven talent, but some guys that you might bring in here still are under team control. And that is Sandy Alcantara, Mitch Keller, Edward Cabrera. Like, those guys would help your team. Again, you can pick your favorite. You might not like one over the other, but when you can have a Sandy Alcantara, I know he's having a bad season, but he has ace type stuff. And you're not just looking at this season. Obviously I am, but David Stearns is also looking at the bigger picture here, where Sandy Alcantara's second year after Tommy John is usually where they figure out their location, right? Because a lot of times, guys, and I talked about this earlier today, when it comes to Sandy Alcantara, when it comes to Tommy John, just look at Zach Wheeler. Now, it took Zach Wheeler 2 years, but that was for many other reasons because he had other issues with it than just Tommy John. Sandy Alcantara had the normal rest, had just that injury, nothing else. Usually the last thing that comes back after Tommy John is location. If you look at the stats from Sandy Alcantara, the ERA doesn't tell the whole story. It's more about locating certain pitches, right? When you don't establish your fastball, when you don't locate your fastball, your breaking ball comes obsolete, non-existent, where batters are not going to chase, right? So they're going to sit on your fastball. As good as his fastball is with movement, it's predictable when your off-speed pitches aren't fooling anybody. And location is the last thing that comes back when you have Tommy John surgery, especially the first year back. Location is the biggest thing, right? Your arm angle might be a little different, and that might change your entire, way of you throwing pitches. Where you got to learn how to do that. And I truly believe that. I don't think the Marlins are helping Alcantara by any means. I truly think that if he goes to a team, and not just the Mets, but if he goes to another team that, a team like the Phillies, let's just say, right? You've seen how their top three is. They're very good. The Phillies have figured out, Ranger Suarez took a while, but they figured him out. I don't see any reason why Sandy Alcantara can't be better with teams like the Mets, the Phillies, or the Cubs, guys like that. I truly believe that. And especially with the Mets have proven of making, rocks into diamonds with certain guys. And, how much do you have to, tune up Sandy Alcantara? He's a proven Cy Young Award winner. He's a proven ace. Tough season this year, but there's no reason why they can't figure things out where, they can fix certain things that the Marlins might not have seen. With Brazaban, I know Brazaban and Sandy Alcantara totally different pitchers, but Brazaban couldn't hit the broadside of a bond. He couldn't hit water out of a boat. Like, that's how bad his location was. The Mets got him into the lab and figured out what his problem was. Whatever it was, they figured it out. The guy has been, probably our most consistent guy other than Reed Garrett. Like, they figured out Reed Garrett, who nobody wanted. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I want to make that clear. I don't think that it's just going to, put Alcantara into the lab and it's going to fix him. I'm not saying that by any means. But the upside is so freaking big. And I think it's important to realize that it's not just about the stats you see this year. It is a whole other bunch of things that not just me, not just you, but David Stearns is looking at. He's looking at control. He's looking at what they think is the problem with Sandy Alcantara. You don't think right now David Stearns, his analytical team, his people in the lab, his scientists or whatever the hell is in the pitching lab aren't looking at video of Sandy Alcantara saying, you know what? It's not his stuff. He's throwing 96, 97, 98. His movement on his breaking ball, off-speed pitches are there. You don't think they're figuring out, oh, maybe it's just this mechanical change that is forcing his arm angle to be a little up or a little more sidearm, and we can fix that. You don't think they're looking at that? And not just Alcantara. They're looking at other guys as well. They're looking at Zach Gallen maybe, where, looking things like him. Well, Marvin, why wouldn't we trade Acuna or Vientos? They're pointless on this team. They're a useless asset on this team. They're more valuable in a trade for the New York Mets than on this team. If you haven't noticed, they took Vientos out yesterday after the 5th inning, after he hit that 2-run double. No reason to do that except trade talks intensified. Now, for whatever reason, he's still on this team today. But against a lefty to start the game for the Giants, Vientos wasn't in the game. So that just tells you right there that Vientos is very much in deep trade talks where he's very much on the block for whatever move it is. Pick your move. I don't know. Right? We heard about Luis Robert. Like the report was Vientos for Luis Robert. There hasn't been a confirmed report. We know the White Sox really like Mark Vientos. But if the Mets don't want to trade Vientos for Robert, which is understandable, Vientos could be in a deal for a starting pitcher where they might package Vientos and, a top prospect or two to get an Alcantara, get a Cabrera. Dwayne, Vientos was not taken out for defense in the 5th inning. He just hit a 2-run double, and it was a 2-1 game. You're not taking out your potential hitter that was the only offense you had in the game for defense in the, after the 5th inning. There was a whole ball game to go, whole half of the ball game. There was no need to take him out for defense that early. You never take somebody out that early for defense. You just don't. Maybe after the 7th inning, during the 7th inning, sure. Just after his term at bat, you might not get another at bat from him. Yeah, but he had 2 more at bats in that game where it was a close ball game. If the game was 6-0, I can understand you doing that. But we all know what it was. Clearly, he got a call from up top saying, hey, trade talks are intensifying here. Vientos could be in a deal. Let's not get him hurt. You can't have him run down first base and pull a hammy while a trade could be happening any moment, and then the trade's dead. Yeah, easy. Yeah. They didn't take him out for defense. When do you see you get taken out for defense in the 5th inning? It doesn't make no sense. Come on, guys. You got to read through the trees here. You got to read through it. There was no need to take him out for defense. He just hit a 2-run double. He was going to get 2 more at-bats in that game, definitely won. And look what happened. If the Mets would have lost that game yesterday, with Acuna basically looking lost at the plate in a spot where Vientos would have been up with runner on base. If we would have lost that game, everybody would have pinpointed to that moment that he took out Vientos in the middle of a game. And Dwayne, I understand he's a defensive liability. Then don't play him at all or DH him. That wasn't a defensive replacement after the 5th inning. That made no sense. The guy just hit a 2-run double to give you the lead. And he could have had 2 more at-bats. Acuna came up in Vientos' spot, in a big spot, in a close game. You really think they wanted Acuna's bat just for defense? That's nuts. That doesn't make no sense. A close game like that, you need to try to get runs. You got to read through it, guys. Yes, tea leaves. I couldn't remember what I was saying. Tea leaves. It's been a long day, guys. Hold on. Let me take a sip of coffee. Okay, that's right. Coffee at 11:40. I'm usually at work now, so what's the difference, right? Got my donuts. I got me some crumb cake donut and a chocolate donut. It's a good night, guys. It's a good night, right? It's been a lot of streams. I'm sorry if I'm slurring my words a little bit. I promise. It's just coffee. It's not no, Baileys or anything like that. I promise. Maybe. Don't hold me to it. But, look, the point of the whole aspect of this whole thing, the whole process that we're dealing with. Yeah, right, exactly. And I do apologize. I'm trying to click on the comments. It's not working. I apologize. So if I'm rambling about comments and you guys are missing it, I apologize. It's not making me click again. So I wish I had comments coming up because it would have been more fun doing that. But sorry. But yeah, the way I see it is the fact that if you look at the roster, what is a dead spot in this roster? Right? We can talk about center field until the cows come home. I think you probably need that and a rotation arm. You can't get that, especially when teams that are looking for guys like Vientos. And clearly, teams are looking for Vientos or infielders, right? I don't think Mauricio and Beatty are going anywhere. And if teams are still calling up, knowing that that's the case, they're calling up for Acuna and Vientos. Like, we got to understand the logic here. We got to understand the pattern. You don't sit Mark Vientos. And again, guys, why did Vientos didn't play today? Why didn't he DH? Why didn't he play any position? You can't just say it's because of defense. If that's the case, then he's pointless on this team. If you're not going to DH him over Marte, who Marte has been the better right-hander over the two. So if you're not going to DH Marte, with a lefty on the mound for Vientos, if you're not going to play him in the field, he's just taking up a roster spot. Get somebody better that can fill that spot, regardless of where it is on the roster. Same thing goes for Acuna. Acuna has been fine defensively, But again, he's a glorified pinch runner and a defensive replacement. Now, that might sound like an important thing for a World Series type of contender, but you got more than enough guys that can take care of business. You got Jeff McNeil as your utility guy that can play everywhere. Acuna doesn't even play every day. At least McNeil can be that utility guy that is fine. And like I said, people don't like Luis Robert, but again, he provides more things than Mark Vientos. He provides defense. He provides 25 stolen bases that he has this year. He has 10 home runs over 6 home runs from Mark Vientos. He has 41 RBIs over the 26 mark of RBIs from Mark Vientos. A defensive liability and the lack of production offensively from Mark Vientos is why he is nearly out the door. But whatever, I don't think, if Vientos is not in the trade for Luis Robert, whatever. But I do think Mark Vientos is going to end up somewhere else to get either a start. I think, put it this way, guys. I think if Vientos was in the deal for Luis Robert, that deal would have happened already. That's just my opinion. So I'm thinking a little bit bigger, where I think it's going to be a really good rotation arm, where Vientos is part of that deal, and everybody's looking towards Miami. I got it up right here, right? And again, this is not a trade proposal that is just for one trade. I'm just putting a bunch of names here where we can mix and match here. I think the Marlins are going to want some pitching, right? You got Jack Wenninger, that is a guy that's moving up the charts, is pitching outstanding in AA right now. I think Luis Acuna is the perfect match for a team like the Marlins. I think Mark Vientos could actually fit as well, right? You can think of it like that. You can have an Acuna Baez Barrio, and I do think Edwin Cabrera might cost you a tad bit more because he's having a better season than Alcantara, and he has more years of control than Alcantara. So that is something that you also have to look at when you try to break down a trade. And again, these names on the right aren't just for one player. It's just a combination of throwing names out there. So let's see. I just want to look at the comments really quick. Well, Dwayne, again, if Mauricio gives you something back much better than you think, like if Mauricio's in a trade for Joe Ryan, is anybody complaining? Absolutely not. Now, I'm not saying Joe Ryan's available, and don't quote me on that. Don't be running the Twitter saying, "Hey, Rob said that." No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if Joe Ryan, everybody should be available for Joe Ryan. Anybody, Beatty, Mauricio, Jet Williams, all those guys. That package needs to be anybody. Because if you get Joe Ryan, he's your ace. And he's your ace for the next couple of seasons. So, yeah, it might be a Sproat in that trade. It might be a McLean or a Tong. One of those guys going in that deal. Dwayne, I agree. I don't think he's available. But I'm just stating that I don't think Mauricio is available unless it's a player like that. I don't think Mauricio needs to be traded to get any of the guys we mentioned that you see on your screen. I don't think he's part of a Luis Robert trade. I don't think Alcantara, Cabrera, even Merrill Kelly or Mitch Keller or Zach Gallen. I don't think any of those guys warrant Mauricio in a trade. Mauricio is a headliner of a start of a trade, in my opinion. I would only trade Mauricio because if you're trading a guy like Mauricio, a 5-2 player, where I guarantee you a lot of teams would want Ronnie Mauricio. I need somebody that I know you can plug in and say, that's my ace. That's my big bat. Like, I don't want a fringe guy. I don't want a guy that, even if he is pitching well this year, I don't see him as the number one right now. Then what is the point? Easy, exactly. A Joe Ryan type. Not just Joe Ryan, but a Joe Ryan type. I don't think anybody would complain Ronnie Mauricio was in a trade when Joe Ryan's the player. Like, he puts you in another tier of rotation. He goes right into that number one, and pushing everybody back makes your rotation better. Minaya number 2, Sagan number 3, or David Peterson number 4. Clay Holmes can possibly go through the bullpen. Or if Clay Holmes is your number 5, I don't care him pitching 5 innings. But when you need Clay Holmes to be a number 3 starter, it doesn't work. All poor schemes, yes, of course. I mean, wake me up when Paul Skeens gets traded. If the Mets ever do that, I'll never say a bad word about David Stearns again. I would not. But obviously that's not. Let's see. And here comes the. I know UDL. I know UWL. I know. Oh wait, look, the comments worked. Oh, hey, all right, comments working. Let me change it up. Let me change up the style a little bit, guys, so you guys can see it. There we go. I think that's better, right? Let's see. Yeah, I like that more. All right, here we go. Yeah, Vientos will probably kill us if we trade him. But if we win the World Series because of trading him, I don't care. Yeah, but you can't have after the after effect. Like, oh, you can't have I'm trying to think of the sentence here, but you can't have oh God, I can't believe you guys know what I'm talking about, like withdrawal syndrome. Like you can't say, oh well, if we win, great, but if we don't, it's wait. If Vientos goes to the White Sox, when is he going to kill us? He's going to be on a bad team that's rebuilding. They're not trading him because he's got 4.5 years of control. He's probably not going to get traded for at least another 2 years at least. And maybe by that time, the White Sox are probably good. But who is he hurting? Who's he gonna beat up? He ain't gonna beat up the Mets. Unless the White Sox are making a World Series and the Mets are in it, which isn't likely at this point. Who cares? And yeah, if he is with the Marlins, okay. Win your games. And if the Mets make the playoffs and go deep, we'll worry about that then, right? We'll talk about it in the offseason about Mark Vientos being a Marlin. Like, what is the Marlins going to be after Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara get traded? Because I think both of them are going to get traded. What is going to happen? They're going to be a worse team. Because Edward Cabrera is having a better season than Alcantara, but they're losing two of their top pitchers in their rotation. Like, where are they going to be? Well, easy, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, the 4 years of control for the Mets is irrelevant. You still got that. You got that with Ronnie Mauricio. You have two or three more years with Brett Beatty. Like, and if they play well, it's fine. Oh, no. See, okay. Let me just state again. I was trying to fit everything possible. No, each arrow is individual trade, right? Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera, I think, is a combination of these guys. Not all of them. That's crazy. Even I'm not stupid as the non-prospect hugger I am to give that much. That's nuts. Every arrow, especially up top, Luis Robert for Mark Vientos, Luis Robert for Luisano Acuna, and a top 15 prospect. The reason why I put it, because I don't think Acuna is very high on a lot of teams' radar. I think his level of status as a prospect, I think, is kind of going down a little bit, in my opinion. So I think you would have to add another top 15 to 20 prospect along with that. And again, I think that's a little too much for Luis Robert, but I'm just throwing it out there because I was reading some articles from the White Sox. Again, I don't do this out of spite. I don't do this just to piss people off. I'm reading stories, beat reporters from the White Sox, and I am trying very hard to get a White Sox beat reporter on to see if they have any more information about what they're looking for other than Mark Vientos. Is it possible they're looking for anybody else if the trades broke down or whatever? I'm trying to get a beat reporter on, but they're really busy right now, as you can expect. So I'm trying here. Yeah, but Juan, and again, we gave Beatty a chance and a chance and a chance. Yes. But how long did that last? Because the middle of May, Vientos was the third baseman last year. Right? 2023 was a lost year, so I don't even count that year because it was just a mess. But we have to understand here, right? Beatty is now establishing himself. Chances are irrelevant. Beatty was in competition with Vientos. It ended up being Beatty and Acuna at second base. Beatty won that job. This isn't a Vientos-Beatty conversation. This is the Vientos and everybody else conversation. He lost his job that was basically set in stone because he was so bad. Not only was he a liability defensively, but he wasn't hitting at all. And again, if Vientos was hitting for power, this wouldn't be a conversation. Vientos, I don't think would be traded. He would be a third baseman. I think they would settle with a little bit less solid defense for the power of Mark Vientos. But when you have 6 home runs in 106 games, I'm sorry. He lost the job that was basically cemented in stone. This wasn't a conversation of who's going to take Vientos' spot. It was Beatty and Acuna. And whenever Mauricio got healthy and was ready to go, they would figure out where Mauricio would play. Probably DH. That's what we were talking about. Mauricio was going to be the DH because Vientos was going to be the third baseman, and somebody of Acuna or Beatty was going to play second base, and McNeil was going to be the utility guy who plays everywhere. No, Ron, no. Vientos is not the insurance policy if Pete walks. That's why you got Ryan Clifford, who is tearing it up in the minors. He's a guy that can play first base. So that is the insurance policy, not Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos sucks at first base. Did you see his footwork? It's terrible, right? You don't need a Rafael Devers situation. You don't need a non-first baseman that shouldn't be playing first base. Mark Vientos is a positionless player. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just not fitting with the Mets. No, Ron, you don't understand. Vientos is pointless on this team. Hey, Padres, what's up? I know, LFGSD, what's up, man? Good luck, but I hope you lose very badly. Well, here's a perfect guy, right? A fan of the Padres, excuse me, not the Dodgers. Sorry, I don't want to piss you off. Are you hearing anything about Dylan Cease? Finally, my comments are popping up. So, Padres fan, we faced you this week. Have you heard anything about Dylan Cease? Are the Padres really looking to trade Dylan Cease to get whatever they need at the major league level? Or is this just smoke they're blowing up our asses, these reporters? That's what I would like to know. Dwayne, reminds me of a Flores situation, not even close. It's not even close. And again, the difference is here, Flores was actually playing well that year. Ron, yes, he is. Well, then why would he move Acuna? Acuna is very controllable. Acuna doesn't play, so that's why he's getting traded. And guess who's not playing anymore? Mark Vientos, because of Mauricio and Beatty. You got to understand. You got to read through all the smoke, Ron. You have to. So what if he has 40 home run potential? Ronnie Mauricio does too. You know what he has potential? 6 home runs. That's what he has. That's what I worry about. I don't care about last year. You can't bring up last year for other players to fit your argument and not bring up Vientos as well. He's going to be a JD Martinez. So good. Let him be it with the White Sox. Let him be it with the Marlins. He's not doing it right now. If he was hitting, he would be the DH, and we would solve another spot in our lineup. We would fill a hole that is desperately needed. If that's all we need from Vientos is to hit. We don't even need him to play defense. We have a hole at DH. It would be nice for Vientos to fill that. And again, if Vientos was actually hitting home runs, this wouldn't be a conversation. He would be the DH, Mauricio would be the third baseman, and Beatty would be the second baseman where McNeil plays center, left, everywhere. But Vientos, so now we're going to blame injury. That's what it was. But before the injury, he sucked. And now after the injury, he's been okay with no power. He's shown no power. His last home run, I think, was the end of April. That was 2 months ago. My cat shaking hit a home run. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, Ron, I agree with you when it comes to relief. And there's so many bullpen arms where I'm not worried about the bullpen, and that's why I'm not really talking about bullpen arms. Because there's so many out there. David Stearns is going to get one or two more. I truly believe that. Well, yeah, Beatty has been dog shit every season. But why are we talking about every season? What is he doing now? He's outperforming Mark Vientos. Ronnie Mauricio is clearly a favorite of the organization. They could not wait for Mauricio to come up here. Yeah, Ray, my cat's a baller, man. He jumps around. He jumps on stuff that he shouldn't be jumping on. I told you, he opens the door. Like, the cat knows how to open the door, and this isn't no little handle. This is a knob. Like, this cat knows how to do it. It's a freaking Houdini cat, man. This cat's smart. No, well, I agree with you. I never said that about Brett Beatty. But he's playing better than Mark Vientos. And by the way, you know why Vientos is not playing mostly? It's not just because he can't hit. It's because he don't play good defense. And that's why he doesn't play every day now. And again, I truly think that if Vientos was hitting home runs, if he was just hitting bombs, but he was batting 220, I think he would be the DH. And we could talk about Vientos, Mauricio, and Beatty being a part of this lineup. And that can still be the case. But nobody can change my mind that Vientos isn't more of an asset in a trade to get better and get somebody that can fill a hole that could be better for this team. Vientos is a roster like stub. He's a tree trunk. He can't run. He can't field. He's not hitting right now, and you cannot wait. This is the problem that you guys just don't understand, some of you. Let me repeat myself. You can't wait for Vientos to figure it out, because on August fucking 1st, guess what's going to happen? You are stuck with that tree trunk. There is no help coming from anywhere else. They're not bringing up any other kids to replace Mark Vientos unless there's an injury. Mark Vientos is taking up a spot on the roster. If Mauricio and Beatty establish themselves like they have, Vientos is going to get sporadic starts, which is taking up a roster spot. He's not coming in for defensive replacement. He's not coming in as a pinch runner. He might get a pinch hit appearance. And if he's still not hitting, he's not even a DH, because Marte, as the right-handed bat, has been better than him. And Mark Vientos, who could probably play against lefties, hasn't hit lefties. He hasn't hit anybody, but he's had better numbers against righties this year than lefties. So where is he playing? Like, you're taking up a roster spot where you can fill a hole that could be much needed, that can help this team more than what Mark Vientos is doing. You can't wait and hope that game 155 that Mark Vientos figures out that he's actually playing the game of baseball. Like, I think he's playing cricket if he hits another goddamn ground ball. Like, Jesus Christ. Well, Stezo, I mean, that's what you got. You got 250 hitters and lower, right? But it's not just about it. Everybody's now we're bringing up average. Nobody cares about average. I mean, I care about average. I think it's important to put the bat on the ball, but people care about power. And that's the biggest frustration with Mark Vientos. His power is concerning. Like, if he's hitting home runs, he's connecting. He's seeing the ball at least somewhat good. I mean, this guy is blind as a bat at the plate. And I told you in the earlier show, and Juan, I'm on board with you. Do I necessarily think I'm sold on Brett Beatty? No. But you can't bring up, oh, what about Vientos last year? And then you come up with, well, what did this you're talking you say about Vientos last year? up and you bring up his stats, and then I talk about Alcantara, and you say, well, he wasn't good this year. You can't have it both ways to fit your argument. Who's playing well right now? That's what should matter. And Vientos is not. But I agree with you. I'm not completely sold on Brett Beatty, nor should anybody be. But here's the difference. I'm more comfortable where if Brett Beatty turns into a pumpkin, you heard me say that phrase a couple of times today, with Brett Beatty, you got Jeff McNeil to fill that spot. Vientos is not filling that spot because he can't play second base. Unless Mauricio turns into nothing, and this is the problem. Well, Ron, I mean, who's not better? How would you not want to trade Vientos for Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera? And again, pick your poison. Give me names. Give me names. You want Suarez? Let's go. I drive him to Arizona tomorrow. Well, one, I agree with you. I like McNeil, but clearly the Mets like the versatility of Jeff McNeil in center field because Brett Beatty has been playing well and he's doing good defensively. Merrill Kelly fits much better. I'm okay with that. You traded Mark Vientos for Merrill Kelly for a 37-year-old? Big no on Suarez. All right, so you lose. No, I agree, Plexi. I don't think they are either. But people are not giving other names here. Who else are you bringing up? These are the names that are available. It's either stuck with Mark Vientos and his lack of offense, no defense, no speed, lack of versatility, and he's a logjam in your roster. Well, would Kelly be? I agree. I think Kelly would be more useful, but I don't think you need to trade Mauricio. I'm sorry, excuse me, Vientos to get Merrill Kelly. But again, we're talking, we're acting like let's figure out how to screw all these teams in these deals. Like other teams aren't going to get better offers. You also have to outprice the other teams that are trying for these guys as well. Right, I agree with you. Alcantara's not trash. He's having a bad season this year, and he's just coming back from Tommy John. So again, I'm okay with you guys saying that you don't want Alcantara. I'm not gonna fight you on that. That's your opinion, right? I would be okay with Merrill Kelly, but he's having a better season than most guys we just mentioned. But he's a rental. There's a problem within itself. You really think David Stearns is going to overpay just to get Merrill Kelly in here for one season? They're not re-signing the 36, 37-year-old. Because if Merrill Kelly's continuing to have the season he's had, he's going to get a 2-3-year deal from somebody. Because look at the Charlie Mortons of the world, who is 36, 37 years old, getting 2-year deals, 3-year deals from the Braves. And teams are talking about trading for him now because of postseason experience at the age of 42. One, the tools are there, and that's what I'm saying. Like I've never said to you guys, and you guys heard me multiple times today. I never said Robert's going to be the difference or Sandy Alcantara is going to be the difference, right? But again, Merrill Kelly might not be the difference, right? Anybody that comes here to quote unquote improve the team might not be the difference. But if you don't do that, you'll never know. You see the point? And again, here's the problem. I think there's too many Met fans that would rather get lesser players because it's not going to cost as much and then hope for the best. And then when we lose, guess what I'm going to say? Well, when you half-ass a deadline, this is what you get. You don't start off your deadline by trading for a high leverage reliever in Gregory Soto. You see the difference he already made today. While adding another lefty, you also get a high leverage guy and gives Mendoza options. Huge get. no guarantee that any of these guys you bring in are going to be the difference. But if you don't do it, you don't know. And there's a pretty good chance that the guys we're talking about are going to end up on teams that you will be facing in the playoffs. And then when they beat you, it's nobody's fault but David Stern's. I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming you guys for having different decisions or different opinions. But it's David Stearns for not pulling the trigger. And I said this before. If David Stearns does everything I think I want him to do, let's say he gets a top of the rotation starter. Again, guys, he's looking for a guy in the rotation that can pitch in the playoffs as a 1, 2, or 3. So look at the top of the line starters and somewhere that is the best to number 3. 1, 2, or 3. So we can name all the guys that we've just been mentioning. Mitch Keller, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera. And if there's somebody else out there, we'll throw them out there too, right? If he gets everybody, whoever you want the center fielder to be, let's say they get somebody like, if someone like Cedric Mullins, great. Someone like Robert, whatever. Let's say that he gets every need and it's a B plus upgrade. The guys that are at top of the list, let's say he gets 1 or 2 of those, number 1 or number 2 each one of the holes in the position of need. If they don't perform, you think I'm going to blame David Stearns? Absolutely not. I'm going to blame the player that came in here and not done the job. I think that's going to be the difference with me compared to some Met fans. They're going to blame David Stearns for making the wrong choice, but he brought in the right guys that didn't perform. But here's the thing. If he doesn't make those moves and brings in lesser guys or none at all, let's say he doesn't go get a center fielder and that bat doesn't come, but he'll get a Merrill Kelly. Let's say he gets another 1 or 2 bullpen arms. Is that exciting you? Doesn't for me. It doesn't. I'm sorry. That's another half-ass deadline. This is another Stanek Maton, and let's bring in Jesse Winker. Like, it sounds good on the surface, but ultimately it ended up in disaster in the NLCS because what we really needed, and I like the Winker move. I think that helped the lineup, and Stanek clearly helped us in the postseason. But the ultimate problem, which I called it, just go back to last season at the deadline, and I kept on screaming about rotation. I had Hector on, Hayden on, I had Sal Licata on. I wanted rotation help. I wanted the top 3 starter. David Stearns wasn't willing to be that guy aggressive with his farm system yet because he was still evaluated. Well, ultimately, it burned us because the guys that were great for us were gassed when it got to the NLCS. Like, that's the problem. You can't have that situation again. This rotation, in my opinion, is not good enough. There's nobody you can trust. SNY talks about it. ESPN, nobody likes them, but they're right in that aspect. They got nobody to go deep other than David Peterson. Who do you trust in the postseason? Kodai Senga, he's basically a 5-inning pitcher that throws 150 pitches. He puts people on at will, and you already know when you put people on in the postseason, that shit burns you. I don't care how good of a pitcher you are. It burns you. Sean Manaea, let me see him get through 6 or 7 starts before I talk about him being, an established part of this rotation. Right? That loose body is still flying around in his elbow. That scares the hell out of me. Like, I can't go in to a postseason and say, okay, we got David Peterson, Kodai Senga, and Sean Manaea. If that excites you, if that makes you confident, then my Lord, I don't know what, how worse could, it could be worse, but it's not that good. Not right now. If Manaea continues to build up his strength and looks as strong as he did in his last outing through the rest of the season, we'll have that conversation. That Manaea Peterson 1-2 is nice. But if you get another starting pitcher, and again, name your guy. If you like Merrill Kelly, that's a perfect number 3. I'd take that every day of the week. But I'm sorry, I'll take Alcantara, Edward Cabrera. I would take a lot of guys over Kodai Senga because there is no way I feel any confidence in Kodai Senga. The guy puts too many people on, and in the postseason, that shit burns you. And you know what? Kodai Senga is never going to get the opportunity to burn himself because when it gets sketchy in the postseason, you don't wait to leave that starter in to see if he can get out of it. He's out of the game. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Sandy for Beatty. Oh no, God! Oh my God, Sonny. No, I mean, I'd stop my channel if they do that. Yeah, well, Sonny, I don't think the Marlins care who they trade him to be honest with you. They're looking at shedding payroll, which they would get $17, $18 million off the books over the next 3 years. So, do the math. What is that? Over close to $60, $70 million off the books. That's what they care about. Yeah, they'll get, prospects for sure, but they're not worried about winning. If they are, they should be buyers. They're playing pretty well this year. They got a decent lineup. They got a pretty good rotation. They should be buyers, but the Marlins aren't going to buy nobody. Like, that's the problem. Wait, Plexi says it's dumb to move Vientos when we have people that can play third base for a center fielder. Or is that? Let me just put that comment up. Hold on. Did you mean it's not dumb, or it's dumb to move Vientos? Because that comment doesn't make no sense. Why wouldn't you move Vientos, who doesn't play third base anymore? By the way, he plays like once a week, so he's not your third baseman anymore. I don't know if you have established that, but he hasn't. Well, one, I tend to agree with you. And I'm sorry, Flex. I'm trying to catch up to the comments here, but yeah, I agree with you. I truly think that this trade if Vientos for Robert was the trade on the table, I think it would have got done already. Only because why wouldn't it be if it was a 1-for-1? I mean, that tells me that Stearns wasn't necessarily, I think he was on the fence about that trade. Now, did Mauricio's game today kind of made it a little bit easier for him? I don't know. And that's why I'm doing the stream. I'm hoping over the next 30 minutes or so we get something going here. And I don't think, let's see. Oh, no, we don't want, let's see. Nothing's really going on yet. So that's a good sign. No, nothing bad. Let's see. I'm just checking. All right. So nothing really going on right now. I feel like after the stream's over and I go to bed, there'll be a freaking trade and I'll be really pissed off. And one, you might be right. I think that's why that train hasn't happened yet. I think that's the case. I think that Stearns is trying to get Vientos out of that deal. If it's a Cunha for Robert, I don't think people are going to bite over it. I think they'll be like, all right, Acuna is basically useless on his team anyway. He never plays. He's a pinch runner and a defensive replacement. I mean, you can find that anywhere. And he doesn't do anything with the bat. So, he's basically a guy that you don't want him to pinch hit. So if it's Acuna for Robert, okay. Yeah, true. I think you could too. But if the White Sox want Vientos and is steadfast on that, and Stearns is not willing to do that, then you got to pivot. And there's only one other center fielder out there. Look, Jaron Duran is not going to be there because the Red Sox are right in the mix. Like, it's Cedric Mullins. Like, that's your other option. And you know what? Maybe that is the best. Maybe, I don't know. Well, there isn't a Skeens type pitcher out there. Like you're trying to keep Vientos at any cost. Like that's your problem, Juan. Like that is your problem. Like that's the issue. You're trying to find any reason not to trade Mark Vientos. Like Mark Vientos might have a naked picture of you because you're talking about him like he's David Wright. Like stop, please. Like, of course you would trade Vientos with Paul Skeens. I would walk Vientos to Pittsburgh. But come on, let's be realistic here. These are the guys that are available. Deal with it. This is what's available. Like, you don't want to trade Vientos for Mitch Kelly because you think it should be less, right? Okay, but quality is not Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens is great. That's not quality. Quality is Merrill Kelly. Quality is Mitch Keller. Quality is Edward Cabrera. And as much as you don't think so, quality is Sandy Alcantara. Like, let's be honest here. Like, Paul Skeens is on another level. Pittsburgh is not taking Mark Vientos off your hands for Paul Skeens. You're going to have to trade a Tong, a Williams, and multiple other prospects. Like, yeah, right. I again, Merrill Kelly is a fine acquisition. I would be fine with that. Oh, okay, so all right then. Let's not talk about Sandy Alcantara. Edward Cabrera, they just brought up Merrill Kelly, 3.22 ERA in postseason, right? I'm fine with that. But you're not trading Mark Vientos from Merrill Kelly. I don't think you are. Like I don't see that. I seen I think Vientos, because of his control, is going to be in a deal. Now, if it's for a center fielder, which whatever, but if it's for a pitcher, it's going to be somebody with control. Okay, you're fine with Kelly. You want Vientos for Kelly? What do you think? You think this Seth Lugo deal made pitchers more cheaper? No. Seth Lugo signing an extension takes him off the market. All the prices for pitching just gone up, guys. Like, we all realize that, right? You can't give your sloppy seconds to teams because you don't want them for quality to really good starters. I'm okay with Keller too. I'm okay with that too. But Keller is not just going to cost you Vientos. He's got a couple more years on his deal. Like, he's sought after, right? Why do we act like we're the only teams getting these guys? You also have to win the deal. Merrill Kelly is going to cost more than you think. Mitch Keller is going to cost more than you think. Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, Zach Gallen. All these guys are going to cost you more than you think. When you see these trades happen, regardless if it's the Mets or not, you're going to see what it's going to cost. And I'm hoping, I hope Merrill Kelly gets traded. And if it's not to the Mets, and even if it is to the Mets, people are going to be shocked of what it's going to cost. He's a really good quality pitcher. In my opinion, he's a number 3. I think on his best time, he could probably be a solid number 2 at times. Ron already put the postseason numbers. Very good. Very, very good. Right? But, like, the price is going up here. Let's see. Ron, I think I do that trade, but it might cost you that, to be quite honest with you. All right, Padre, have a good day, buddy. All right, let's see. Well, Sonny, we actually don't know that. That the Marlins might take more. The Marlins might like players on the Mets more than other teams. And again, let's not act like the Marlins are a smart organization here. All right, they're just trying to shed payroll. They're trying to get the best players possible. Well, the Marlins are not gearing up for anybody. You're not trading Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara and possibly a Bender and thinking you're gearing up to beat anybody. You're gearing up to shed payroll. Like, let's be honest. So Jax, Kelly, and Robert, but at the right price. Well, you're probably not getting none of them. You see, that's the problem. You want your cake and eat it too. Good luck trying to be a GM because you're not getting anybody. Like that's the problem. Like your comment right there, and I'm going to throw it up there just for kicks and giggles, right? Jax, Kelly, and Robert, but at the right price. Honestly, I'm not blown away with what I'm seeing at the deadline. I agree with you on that aspect. I'm not blown away at the deadline either. I don't think there's the perfect choice, which I think you can agree with. There isn't perfect choices. There isn't greatness that are amongst these guys. I'm on board with you with that. But you want these guys for the right price. What's the right price? You want to fleece every one of these teams. Again, you want your cake, you need it too. Doesn't happen. Rarely. That's the problem, guys. That's what I don't think you guys are understanding. And I know you guys are smarter than that. Again, because of that's what Stern does. I agree with you, but that doesn't mean he's going to get him. And this is the problem that I'm going to have with David Stearns if this is the case. Good. And one, if he isn't going to get fleeced, then good luck trying to get better. You might see 2 more bullpen arms and shutting the door. I can't wait for another Paul Blackburn type to add to this rotation because that's going to excite me. And I'm not talking about Merrill Kelly. Well, one, then you know what then? Then it's another half-ass deadline. And then when we get our asses kicked in the playoffs by teams that actually made the moves necessary, we're going to have a lot of crybabies on our hands in this chat. It's just a fact. At sooner or later, you have to go for it. Sometimes you got to get uncomfortable at a deadline. You're not going to get better otherwise. Like the reason why Gregory Soto didn't cost more was because David Stearns was aggressive. He didn't waste time and wait till more teams to be involved. There are so many teams in on these guys that are currently available that we just assume that we're gonna fleece these guys. Where they're gonna hang up the phone on David Stearns and it says, "Oh, good luck with Kodai Senga that throws 4 innings and it has 12 days off just to pitch." Oh, good luck with Clay Holmes that can't get out of the 5th inning. Enjoy Sean Manaea trying to stretch out and hopefully his elbow don't blow up. Like, come on. Well, I think you're wrong. Because nobody can tell me that Mark Vientos and Luis Angel Acuna are more valuable on this team than trading them for assets. It's idiotic. Well, see, I agree. Yes, I agree. That's the point. The whole point of trades is both teams feel like they got a fair deal. Right? But I can count. Like, there has been more trades where proven players have helped the team more that have been buyers than prospects ultimately helping the teams that were sellers. Like, that is so obvious. Like, we got to stop with this. How's Kelnick doing? As we got the best closer in baseball. How's that working out? Right? Yeah, you're going to have PCAs with Baez, but that's rare, guys. That is so rare. Right? What's even rarer is Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman. Do you think the Cubs really give a shit about Gleyber Torres? They won a championship because they needed a closer and they got Aroldis Chapman. Right? You can't be afraid to make a deal. Like, I'm sick and tired of half-assing deadlines, and then the same people who wanted to not get fleeced or get the players that you should be getting to fill needs because of prospects. Like, you're going to cry like babies when you lose to teams that ultimately got better at the deadline. And I told you this for multiple shows. The Philadelphia Phillies and Dave Dombrowski talked about it on a sports radio spot. Talked about it when he was in the booth with the Phillies announcers. He said, "We're getting older. We got a lot of guys going to free agency. I'm not worried about prospects. I'm doing what we got to do." It's basically all-in mentality. That is a guy that you're facing in your division that said publicly that he's going all in. It's not about the prospects. It's about what we have right now. We're in championship mode. That's what he said. That is the guy that runs the Philadelphia Phillies that is in your division. You think he's going to stop getting anybody on the market to make this team better? You got another thing coming, and you better fucking win the division. You better beat the Phillies in the playoffs if you beat them. Because if they do what I think they're going to do, you better beat them if you're going to half-ass the deadline. Because you would never hear the end of it from me. By the way, guys, check your calendar. What year is it? 2025, right? Last time I checked. It's July 28th, 4 days before the deadline. You know what's missing? A World Series banner. We're heading on 40 fucking years. I wasn't even born yet. Some of you in the chat weren't born yet. Some might have been young whipperscappers when the Mets won. My dad was I think it was 20. No, yeah, 20-something. In the stands at Shea Stadium when they won the World Series. That's how long ago it was. Like, let's stop acting like this team has won a World Series recently and we can take a deep breath. I'm not waiting until Lindor's 35 years old and, limping around shortstop and hoping that another prospect that we didn't trade develops. Tommy, please don't do that. This is my channel. If you don't like the curse words, we're adults here. All right? We're talking sports. All right? F-bombs are going to happen. If you don't like it, I don't hold anybody to stay here. But this is about sports. It's the middle of the night. I'm sorry if you don't close your ears. I don't know what to tell you. Go to sleep. We're adults here. All right. Do you think the Mets should get an impact player? Let me just hold on 1 second, guys. I got to find the comment again. Hold on. Here we go. And where'd it go? Okay. Let's see. Do you think the Mets should get an impact bat at DH, Rob, or are you okay with Marte? I mean, I'm okay with Marte, but most people are not. Even though he's hitting better than Mark Vientos, but people want to see Mark Vientos on this team for some apparent reason. I mean, you would think they would try to get a lefty bat because we don't know about Winker and his back and his injuries. But, I mean, again, what DH is out there? Like that's the problem. We're talking about the same guys that play center field, that played third base in Suarez. Like, those are your bats. There isn't that many bats out there. You want to get a Kwan? Okay. I mean, that's fine, but he's not a great hitter. You're not really solving an issue. You're going to have the speed. And, he puts bat on ball. I guess that's something I like. And he plays good defense. But, I mean, I'm okay with that. I think he'll help. But ultimately, what we're trying to do here is trying to get better. Yeah, but Ron, why do we act like guys that are having good seasons ultimately are going to continue to have a good season when they get traded to another team? I brought up players. Somebody brought up, and this was a great point, when the Braves got all their outfielders, when they had the injuries of the outfield in 2021. They got Duvall, they got Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler was batting 160 when he got traded to the Atlanta Braves. You want to know what he did with the Braves when he got there? You want to know what he did in the postseason? You want to know what he did in the World Series? Well, I'll tell you. He's a World Series champion and he's a World Series MVP. So just because a guy's doing well on another team doesn't mean he's going to do well for you because he's having a good year. It always doesn't work like that. So this mirage that everybody's trying to a lot of you guys are trying to make a picture of is the fact that just because guys might not having good seasons with their current team doesn't mean if you trade for them they're going to be the same thing. Same thing goes if they're having good seasons that they're going to remain good for your team. It goes both ways. Like, let's not act like it's an obvious choice. Merrill Kelly could be really good for the Diamondbacks. He can get to the Mets and have a 6 ERA. Same thing goes for Alcantara. If he has a 6 ERA with the Marlins, he can have a 3 ERA with the Mets. Robert, who is batting barely over 200, could be batting 230 by the end of the year for the Mets and hit 10 bombs for them the rest of the year. Ron, but that doesn't mean that they're going to pitch the same when you get them. Like, let's not act like that's true. Like, let's be honest. That's not always the case. Just because they're playing well now for their current team doesn't mean automatically they're going to be good. And I'm on board with you. I would take Merrill Kelly in a heartbeat. But let's not act like you could stamp that guarantee that he's going to be good just because he's good with Arizona. I like his track record. I take him on the team tomorrow. No, Juan, see, stop putting words in my mouth. It's stupid and it's annoying. The fact that you don't want Sandy because of 1 year of not pitching well, coming out of Tommy John surgery. And again, I am not telling you that Sandy Alcantara is going to pitch better if he becomes a Met. But what I'm telling you, you act like there's no chance of that. And you also act like Merrill Kelly will just come to the Mets and pitch the same way, if not better, where he can do a total 180. And then what happens? Right? Somebody can get Eugenio Suarez. What if he's terrible the last 2 months of the season and not perform in the postseason? Everybody likes to trade that whoever gets Eugenio Suarez. And if he doesn't perform, what are you going to say then? Well, he was having a good season. No, bullshit. Don't go based on numbers. I gave you examples in the last show. I'm not going to go over it again because you're not listening to the God's honest truth that you just don't want to listen to. You're stuck in your way and you don't like it. Okay, great. Kelly is pitching well this year, so it makes sense to get him. Agree with you. But it's not just because he's pitching well this year. You're an idiot if you only think about this year. Because you're using Kelly's stats this year, but I'm giving you Mark Viento's stats, and you're telling me you want to keep this guy basically you don't want to give him up for nothing. You're trying to get, I don't want to trade Vientos for this or that or that. So you basically want Vientos here to be a fucking stub. Come on, let's get over this. Sandy is not a bum. You're a moron if you think he's a bum. He's not having a good season. Like, you got to stop. Sandy Alcantara had been basically one of the best pitchers in baseball prior to him getting hurt. He was having issues with his arm in 2023. Now, that concerns me. Now, if you want to have a little bit of back and forth, that might concern me. But if you're talking about good seasons, then why don't we get Edward Cabrera? He's having a good season. He's just as good as Merrill Kelly this year. You got more control. He's younger. Oh, so now we're going for it this year. I forgot, Juan. I didn't know you were going for it this year. Apparently, you don't want to trade anybody because you want everybody for the right price. And that right price is going to screw you at the end because you're not going to get anybody of value or anybody, any quality. And he'll go to Philadelphia. They'll go to Chicago. They'll go to the Dodgers. And then when they beat you, you'll cry in the chat why we lost. And the teams that actually got the players that the Mets should have got, like, this is like Vogelback 2.0. Like, we just assume that the guy that's having a bad year is going to have a bad year with the Mets. The rest of the time with the Mets. That is not factual. There is no proven concept of that. I gave you Tommy Edman last year. He was not having a good season with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was basically a guy that was on the verge of being a utility guy. What happened? He went to the Dodgers. Did you see what he did in the playoffs? Did you see what he did with the final 2 months of the Dodgers? I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. Yeah, Mark won us playoff games in 2024. That does not matter in 2025. Right? Again, stop fitting the argument. Stop setting your argument up for about last year's stats, and then somebody gives me stats of this year. You want players that are having good seasons this year, then you're going to bring me stats of last year of the players that are currently on this team. What does that do for anybody? Let's see. Robinson just went to the Philly. Well, he's been there already. Ali, Mark Vientos, I mean, he's dreaming in 2025 about clutch hits. Like he finally showed the pulse yesterday. He's been terrible this year. The biggest issue, if the Mets are going to go for it this year, trading for a guy with a 6 ERA isn't smart. Okay, you keep on saying the same thing. But you just assume that Sandy Alcantara is going to throw a 6 ERA with the Mets because you're fixed on that. Ron, we might be in good hands. Yeah, exactly, Peter. Like, all right, let's keep Vientos. He might have a good second half. Who knows? But who cares, right? If he doesn't, we'll just complain about it and have another year of no championship. Like, I think Met fans love to complain. Like, the loser mentality is so fixed in all of us that we act like a player that hasn't had a good season, that is on the trade block, ultimately is going to have the rest of the bad season with the team that traded for him. That's not set in stone. Like, that's the point. And I'm agreeing with Juan and others that are talking about they don't want Alcantara. I'm not saying that that's the guy I ultimately want. Or that, if they don't get him, it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that at all. I told you Merrill Kelly would be a fine fit. But let's not act like Merrill Kelly is just going to continue on his merry way the next 2 months and pitch well. Like, it's a guarantee. Now, do I think he'll be fine? I do. But don't tell me Sandy Alcantara won't be and Merrill Kelly will be okay. All right, let's just see. So we're coming up on 12:40. Just trying to get the rest of the comments going in. Feeling no, and Josh, that is a good point. Vientos doesn't have any more options, which David Stearns hates, right? Again, he's a tree trunk. He has no options. He sucks defensively. He has no speed, and he's not hitting. So all those things are what Stearns doesn't want. Like, again, guys, we're acting like everything is going to be okay. That, oh, well, if Vientos doesn't hit and it's September, we'll find somebody. Who? Somebody from the stands? Like, after the deadline, guys, that's it. You can't get better. You can use internal options, but if internal options were, and again, the Mets aren't bringing up anybody that is going to help this team with a bat. They're just not doing it. I think they would have done that already. One, I agree with you on that aspect. I agree it's a safer bet. But don't tell, you're making it nonsensical. You're basically saying it's this or that. I agree with you, it's a safer bet. If Sandy is our number 2, say goodbye to the playoffs. Well, that's ridiculous. That's a stupid comment. I agree with you with the other comment. I agree. Merrill Kelly is a safer bet. Even Mitch Keller is a safer bet. But let's agree on this. Let's not act like the safer bet is going to just be exactly what he was with the former team. It's not a guarantee. But Ron, why do you think you're getting really good for Mark Vientos? Like, this is the thought process I don't understand. Do you think the Marlins are saying, hey, we'll take Vientos, here's Sandy Alcantara, here's Edward Cabrera? No. You're lucky to get a bag of peanuts from Mark Vientos. And the only reason why the White Sox want him is the control and the quote-unquote potential. While they're losing games, he can play third base. He can establish himself, play really good, so they can trade him in 2 years to a contender. That's what they're doing. Like, that's the whole idea. And I agree. Nothing's a guarantee. But doing nothing is even more stupid. And I don't think any of us want us to do nothing. And no, Sandy isn't better than Clay Holmes right now. No, I agree with you. Like, I just want to check something really quick. Oh, John Heyman said something? Oh, he's the trade tracker. Come on, John. Don't post shit like that. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking something really quick. I want to check a stat. Excuse me, guys. Let's see. Well, interesting, right? Sandy Alcantara's last start, which was against San Diego, he threw 7 innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, no runs. So that was a pretty good start. Now, against Kansas City and Cincinnati, wasn't good. So, like, he's erratic. I completely agree with you. Like, he dropped his ERA a full run in the last 7 games. But, yeah, I agree. I like to go with the safer bet. Like, if you give me Merrill Kelly, if you give me a bat, again, I don't know how many bats are out there. Right? We really have to go over that. Right? It's very early in the morning here. And I appreciate all you guys hanging out late at night, overnight here. We got over 400 in the stream right now on X and YouTube. So I do appreciate all of that. But ultimately, we want to win, right? I think that's the ultimate goal, right? I don't think David Stern should sit on his hands and say, well, I'm not overpaying for anybody, or I don't like that particular deal, so I'm not going to do that. You just can't do that for everybody. At some point, he's got to get uncomfortable in a trade. You got to, like, damn, I don't really want to give this guy up, but man, this guy's going to help us. Like, you can't have that. You can't say no to everything because you don't want to give up anything. Like, that's just, not everybody is just going to want your 15 to 27 prospects when people are asking for your top 10. Like, you can't have too many. You can't say no to everybody. Like, if you do, you're just wasting your time. Like, you might as well go to bed and wake up on August 1st. Okay, yeah, he's not having a good season at all. I agree with you. Vientos for Ohtani. Book it. Think the Dodgers were like that? They need their basement, right? All right, guys. So let's finish it up here. As again, these trade proposal watch. Again, there was no trade during this time. Again, I'm telling you right now, we're gonna go to bed. It's gonna be like 4 o'clock in the morning. People are gonna wake up, see a notification that the Mets made a trade. I'm gonna be very upset. I might call David Stearns and curse him out because why didn't he do it during the stream? But hopefully he's working his magic and getting players in here that can help us. Do what he got to do, right? This again, no excuse deadline for David Stearns. There's no excuses. You got the money, you got the assets. Get guys in here that can help this team. Get guys in here that can help this team, right? Whoever it might be. Josh, you never know. Hey, listen, Sussex would probably hit right now better than Mark Vientos, so why not? Bring back Daniel Murphy. He could probably hit better than Mark Vientos. You could DH him. All right, guys. So with that said, I appreciate you guys spending the entire day with me. I know a lot of you guys were here from the first show at 12:30 today. I do appreciate it. It was a long day. If any breaking news, obviously, if I'm sleeping, I can't do a stream because I'm sleeping. But if I'm up and it happens to be a notification of Mets breaking news, I'll do a live stream in the middle of the night. Who cares? I mean, it's already the middle of the night, but earlier today. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. If I happen to be up and see a notification of breaking news, I'll be live on here with the breaking news. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll probably do another video on something else I'm thinking in my head here. You know, a lot of people are talking about Merrill Kelly. I'll probably come up with a trade package or a trade proposal for Merrill Kelly. Let's see if we can agree or disagree or whatever. But I think it's a good time to do a Merrill Kelly trade, even though we haven't really heard much in rumors in regards to Merrill Kelly linked to the Mets for whatever reason. And I truly think that it's because he's a rental. I think that's a big problem. I think the cost is kind of high. I mean, not high, like, oh shit, that's a lot. But like, I think it's a solid price. And I don't think David Stearns is willing to do that for a 37-year-old rental. I just don't think so, even though he's probably the safer bet, as Juan and many of you guys said in the chat. But we will see. But the fact is, David Stern has no excuses. You either get this team better or you're going to get the wrath of New York Mets fans. Make this team better. There needs to be multiple moves. And I said this from the start. The Mets trade deadline, David Stern's deadline, needs to be a B+ or better. If it's anything less, it's a half-ass deadline. And too many times over the last handful of years, half-ass in deadline ultimately cost this team. It cost them last year because they were too concerned about not trading prospects because, you know, evaluation. 2022, we were afraid to give up prospects once again, and we ended up a rough Naquin and Vogelback. Congratulations. And oh, don't forget about Michael Givens. You keep on half-assing deadlines, you're going to get half-ass production in the postseason, and ultimately, it's going to cost you, right? You can only get lucky for so long. With that said, I appreciate over 400 crazies in the stream on X and YouTube. I do appreciate all the support. If you haven't seen my videos earlier today, White Sox Mets possible trade, Marlins Mets possible trade, check out those videos while you're laying in bed trying to go to sleep, right? Watch a video. They're not more than 10 minutes. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to more, possibly, the Mets Trade Watch live right here on the channel and on X. Have a great night, guys. Get some sleep. I'm going to finish my coffee, eat my donuts, and try to go to sleep, even though I'm probably just going to completely scroll through X and social media to try to find something going on. Have a good night, guys. Mets are on a 7-game winning streak, swept the Angels, swept the start of the West Coast trip in San Francisco, head into San Diego, 7-game winning streak, 18 games over 500, a game and a half in first place in the NL East. You know what that all means? We need a badass deadline, guys, and that's all up to David Stearns. No, I'm not a cop. I'm not. I did about 6 shows today. I need some coffee, and I need something to eat because I'm hungry. So have a good night, guys. Let's go, Mets. Red hot Mets. Need some more reinforcements. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more Mets baseball. Have a good night, guys. Let's go, Mets.
In cribs with a dream, go die, skylight kissing the skies. With 25 calling out time, flashness, they gon' shine. Silver splashing bombs, out of orbit they fly. Lino steady cooking kingpin, shortstop guy. Orange and blue, red and true, yeah we here fight. Mets taking crowns in the city, feel lights. Queens in the house, loud and clear, no fear. 2025's the year, let's make it.